Hey listeners, welcome to Econ Talk. I'm your host Bardybot, a robot who loves economics. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Nigeria's economy with Swarnabha.
Hi, I'm Swarnabha. We're here to break down Nigeria's economy in simple terms.
Fantastic. Let's kick things off with GDP growth. Swarnabha, is Nigeria's economy growing fast or slow these days?
You know, GDP's been a roller coaster. 2020 was rough. We lost around 1.8% of our GDP because of COVID. Then we bounced back. Growth was about 3.7% in 2021, 3.3% in 2022, and 2.9% in 2023. But late 2024 saw a real quick pickup. In Q4 2024 alone, GDP jumped about 3.8%. That's actually the fastest quarterly growth in 3 years. The World Bank even said it was the strongest in a decade, around 4.6%. The service sector really helped pull us forward.
That's good news on GDP. But hey, I hear prices are crazy high. Inflation's been in the headlines everywhere. What's going on with that?
Oh boy, in Nigeria, inflation got really high in 2024, over 30%. For example, in June 2024, the official headline inflation was about 34.2%. Practically, if you buy one baseball for $500 last year, you might need $670 to buy the same baseball this year. Fuel subsidy removal and other reforms made prices shoot up. By October 2024, it was still around 33.9%. That's a lot of pressure on everyone's pocket. To fight this, our central bank kept raising interest rates. In late 2024, the key policy rate was 27.5%, which is massive. So loans and even basic bank accounts earn that much interest. But also, borrowing is expensive, which can slow down spending. So in short, yes, inflation is sky high and it bites into people's budgets.
Yikes, that sounds rough. Speaking of rough, what about jobs? Are Nigerians finding work, especially young people?
Unemployment's kind of complicated. Officially, the total jobless rate actually came down to around 4.3% in mid-2024. Here's the catch. The youth, people who are from age 15 to 34, had a higher unemployment rate, about 6.5% in Q2 2024. That's because lots of young folks, fresh graduates, and first job seekers haven't found a stable job yet. And there's another way to look at it. Some reports suggest that about a third of under 30 Nigerians have no formal job. In everyday life, that means plenty of teens and 20-something-year-olds are hustling informally, like selling snacks on the side of the road or doing some odd gigs just to survive. So the reality is, while the official number sounds low, many young Nigerians are unemployed or searching hard for opportunities.
Got it. So, what does Nigeria actually produce and sell to other countries? What are your main exports and who do you trade with?
Nigeria is famous for oil and gas. In 2024, gas exports jumped nearly 50% to about $8.66 billion. Non-oil exports like rubber, cocoa, perhaps other manufactured goods also rose to about $7.46 billion. But most money is from the energy world. So we send crude oil, refined oil, and gas to other countries. As far for trade partners, the Netherlands are our number one trading buddy. Not surprising since they buy a ton of stuff. We also buy a lot of Chinese products. In 2024, total trade with China was around 17.1 trillion naira. India is also one of our top trading partners. We traded around 12 trillion naira in 2024. We export petroleum oils, gas, even cashew nuts, while we imported motorcycles and medicine from them. Then Africa, like surrounding African nations, is third. Our neighbors buy and sell around 10.9 naira worth of stuff. We sell cocoa, rubber, cashews, and we buy things like maize from them. The USA, Netherlands, France, and few European nations are also top partners, especially for oil and gas. The big picture, we have a trade surplus now. We export more than we import. For 2024, our goods trade surplus was about $13.2 billion, and Nigerians abroad sent back nearly 21 billion in 2024.
Speaking of fuel, I remember hearing a lot of news about petrol subsidies being removed and changes to your currency. How did those policies shake things up?
Oh, those were big. Starting late 2022 into 2023, President Tinubu decided to stop the old fuel subsidy. Basically, the government was paying for cheaper petrol, which costs us an arm and leg, about $867 million every month. When they removed it, gas prices tripled overnight. It was like ripping off a band-aid, painful but supposedly necessary. Same with electricity subsidies. Those were cut too. On the money side, the Naira got a bit of freedom. We had multiple exchange rates, official versus black market, and after reforms the Naira was devalued to reflect the real market value. So officially $1 was 400 Naira before, now it floated to around 1,500 Naira. It was weakened by a lot. These moves pushed inflation up. In fact, the president said these reforms saved Nigeria about 1.32 trillion Naira, which is around 1.3 billion US dollars in 2 months. They also unified the exchange rate, making it easier for businesses and central bank to manage. With one rate, Nigeria could build some reserves, which we did, up to $40 billion by the end of 2024. So in short, subsidy removal and floating the Naira caused short-term pain, but were intended to set Nigeria for a more stable path.
Thanks for clearing that up. How about the banking system and interest rates? Can people still get loans or put money in the bank?
Our banking system is intact, with lots of big and small banks. Banks haven't collapsed or anything, but because of inflation, the central bank has been hiking interest rates. By late 2024, the benchmark rate was 27.5%. That's one of the highest rates in the world right now. For you, that means if you borrow money from the bank, you'll pay around 27% interest a year. Ouch. On the flip side, if you save, you might earn a lot too if banks actually paid you. The idea is to discourage people from spending all cash and hopefully cool the inflation. Banks also had to follow new central bank rules on how to lend and manage risk, so getting loans became stricter. But everyday banking, withdrawing, depositing, works normally. By the way, thanks to these reforms, subsidy cuts and floating rates, Nigeria actually saw foreign reserves rise to over 40 billion at the end of 2024, which means banks have more backup cash in dollars. Altogether, interest rates are sky high to beat inflation, but the banking sector itself is stable and still delivers service.
Alright, let's talk about something more fun. Technology and youth. Are Nigerian kids making cool stuff like apps or movies?
Absolutely. This is the bright spot. Nigeria's youth are tech savvy. Our fintech scene is booming. Think apps and digital banks. For example, Nigeria's fintech industry grew about 70% in 2024. There's a young entrepreneur on almost every corner trying to launch the next big app. We have companies like MoneyPoint, OPay, Kuda. MoneyPoint even became a unicorn, billion-dollar startup recently. In 2024 alone, Nigerians processed over 108 billion mobile transactions, totaling around 1.68 trillion. That's people sending money, paying with phones, buying airtime, everything. It's because we have a lot of smartphones, around 140 million phones by 2025. Beyond finance, creative industries are huge too. Take Nollywood. That's our film industry. It's reportedly the largest in Africa, turning out over 2,500 movies a year and bringing in about $6.4 billion for Nigeria. That's around 1.1% of our GDP. Add Afrobeats music going global and fashion, and you see young Nigerians are very creative. So yes, despite economic headaches, our youths are coding apps, making movies, and selling startups. And that's an exciting trend.
Love to hear that. Finally, let's touch on social trends. What about income, poverty, and population? How do those look?
Nigeria's population is massive, over 200 million now, and growing fast. We're Africa's most populous country. Importantly, it's a very young population. Around 60% are under 30. So that's a huge workforce and consumer base. Think of it as a roaring youth engine. But incomes are still low on average. We're lower middle income, meaning our GDP per person is only a few $1,000s a year. Poverty is high. Remember, I mentioned half the population lives in poverty. That means a lot of families survive on very little, less than $2 or $3 a day. When inflation goes up, those families get hit hard. Their naira can't buy what it used to. For example, when food prices jump, parents have to decide which kid to feed first. It's that serious. On the other hand, a growing middle class is emerging in big cities. Education and training are key to lift people out of poverty.
Wow, that's super helpful and interesting. You covered so much. Thanks a ton, Swarnabha.
My pleasure. Feels good to talk about economics with someone.
And thank you for listening to our Nigeria special. Hope you can join us next time on
Econ
Econ
Talk.
Talk.